There's a big break in store for many Capricorn placements this September. I'm going to get into all of the details as to why astrologically there are increases in this happening for you as a Cap placement. Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my very in-depth Capricorn September 2026 Astrology Horoscope Report. As a Cap moon, I'm very excited with you about the things I'm about to share. As you know, and I know with you, Caps carry a lot of heaviness on our shoulders. We seem to be cleaning up messes where other people walk away, and we hold up a lot. Sometimes it feels like the stars and the moon and the weight of the cosmos are on us at any different time. And I'm not making any assertion that everything is going to be perfect, but there is a very increased chance for relief. And I want to get into all of this. This is for you if Cap is your sun, moon, rising, or any other Capricorn placement you're listening for. Okay, so Capricorn friends have been going through a series of additional challenges. Let's outline them to kind of give a name to the things you've been going through. For the previous 5 years, Chiron has been squaring Capricorn. It's now in fellow Earth sign, so there's a whole new era. It will retrograde back into the late degree fire at some point. But for all intents and purposes, it's really, and people like me who are late degree Caps will actually still get a little bit of that coming up. But for the most part, Chiron has shuffled along and done its work. Over the last 5-ish or so years, Capricorn placements have had an opportunity to confront many layers of wounding that happened from childhood that made us need to be so responsible, that set us on a path that we may be happy about, but that was very heavy and very difficult. And now that Chiron's passing through and passing along, there are a lot of blessings that either have already come or will start to come from that. And as Chiron starts to trine the Capricorn placements over the next 5 years, there are going to be even more blessings that come in the form of financial and emotional self-sufficiency. Well, Caps tend to be pretty emotional self-sufficient, but financial self-sufficiency, financial abundance, harmony with material resources, ecological things, even if you're in that group. So that is kind of pending and is in process. But what we've been dealing with now is that Neptune and Saturn are now squaring Cap placements. Now, those of you in the early Cap signs, December born, you will have started to feel this the most into January. You all are starting to feel that Saturn square. Everything's getting tested in your life. Big fundamental questions about what you do, how you show up in the world, the work you do, the relationships, your role in them, the sustainability of the level of responsibilities that you've been holding up. Saturn is making you ask all of those questions, and Neptune might be dissolving some things away, either that became too much, or that you've spiritually evolved from, or for other things not explained. But there's been a lot of intensity. In the short term, we've been having Pallas Athena and Vesta square that placement, which is really conjuring braveness and really asking the question about what your soul flame needs to stay lit. Caps usually have a very specific reason. I talk about this often because I understand this very intimately. There's this idea that Caps want to climb the mountain and that their ambitions are their only thing. And it's just not true. They usually have a reason for wanting to climb the mountain. And it's not usually just their own gain. So at some point, or maybe regularly, that feeling of that soul flame, and this is really represented by Vesta. Vesta is a star goddess who, the Greek and the Roman names are different. Vesta, Hestia, same person. She basically gave up one of her seats in the Big 12 of the Olympians on Mount Olympus, in order to, there was a new entrance that came in. I'm not going to get into all that, but she said that she'd rather tend the flame that was at the center of Olympus. That was the center of where everybody ate and talked and important things happened and became inspired and told stories, and that flame that's at the center of your being is getting questioned now, and you'll be having to make some decisions. Maybe that's already started. And these longer term transits are in play. But coming to, I don't want to say our rescue, because Cappies don't necessarily need to or want to be rescued, but sometimes we wouldn't mind to have a little help, right? We have a beautiful sun transit that's starting to light up our midheaven, our place out in the world, our work, our career, the area that's ruled by Capricorn itself, and Saturn, our ruler. So there's some light, there's some hope, there's information, Mercury, there are conversations, there's activity that's really bringing up how to get all of this back. And along with it, on the 10th, or the days around the 10th, there's a new moon. We only get one new moon in this area every 13 moons, or 13 months, or year, or calendar year rather. And this Virgo new moon at 18 degrees is in our house of Capricorn, trining our Capricorn placement energy. Okay, now all of us can get the goodies from that. The closer you are to 18 degrees, we'll say 13, 5 degrees in either direction, to 23 degrees. And the closer to 18 degrees, the more you might get a more obvious goodie from this. The sun doesn't move into Capricorn on the same day every year, so there's a 3-day margin on either end of the dates I'm going to give you, but round about birthday's January 3rd through the 13th, the closer to around January 8th. All of this is give or take 3 days in either direction. You might get more of a notable kiss from this. But like I said, if you're not in that division, don't worry. The goodies are still there for you. You just may notice it more because, the sun and Mercury are both going to trine all of the Cap placements, and there's plenty of things abounding. But sometimes that new moon can bring a once a year infusion of an opportunity to plant seeds of a break, of a big break, of something that just kind of comes in and helps us out. Another place the big break may come in is Mars moving through our opposing sign of Cancer. And this is home, family, and housing. It highlights our relationship sector, and it may mean that someone we're in relationship with may actually help us out in a tremendous way. Or we could do the usual thing we do and help other people out. That could come up in a way that's fulfilling or otherwise. But it could result in a break from us from somebody else. The area, okay, so those are some areas that the breaks can come through. Work, career, or place out in the world, place where we've applied discipline, and now it's showing up. It can come through relationships, people that we know well, people that we don't know well. And then there's also this 1 year potential that's sitting for just things falling in our laps. And that is a thing that Capricorn doesn't really understand. You might be like, what does that mean? What does it mean to have something just fall in your lap? Because usually the things that we have, we work for, right? So from the end of June, you may have started to feel it a little bit earlier, a few months before, until July of 2027, Jupiter's moving through our 8th house of other people's money, of resources, of winnings, of sweepstakes, of, legacy projects, things like that. And inheritances, loans, taxes, grant money, scholarships, basically financial entanglement with other people, but in many cases it's actually resources from other people. So all of these things are combining for this big break energy that could happen this month. Because of these Virgo transits, it's accentuated. This month has some extra energy, but there's some semblance of this occurring for a whole year. So the big break that changes everything could be coming this month, or could be coming around this time, or could be building to happen at any point in the not too distant future. The Virgo energy rules work and our daily routine, and it rules the things we do every day. Let's say you're retired, and what you do every day is you go to yoga and then you go do a community garden thing. All of that is represented by this energy as well. The work you do every day doesn't have to yield money, and the things you do out in the world doesn't have to be employment. So, regardless of where you are in life, it's those kind of things, where you are, where you're getting out and about, where you're interacting with other people, where you're making your mark. So some level of service is happening here. Things involving health and wellness also lighting up. Things involving pets and animals also lighting up. We don't have any Mercury retrograde or shadow of Mercury retrograde this month, not until October. So that's exciting. That helps with scheduling. That helps with, contracts and doing things like that. But we do have impending Venus retrograde. Venus is in Venus is in Libra, and it's going to go into Scorpio, then it'll retrograde through a little bit of Scorpio, but it will be predominantly in Libra. So where it is now is mostly where it's going to be, or close to it, for the next 4 months. And that's unusual. Usually it blows through pretty quickly. So back to this whole Libra thing. Relationships. Okay, so Libra and Venus rule the 7th house, which is where Mars is, which is where you're getting hyper-focused. And then we've got this impending Venus retrograde. So a lot of things are going to be questioned. But also what happens sometimes in a Venus retrograde is windfalls. Things that come from something that you did before, a relationship from the past, something that you sold or maybe selling. There are some very serious cautions with Venus retrograde, and I wish I could get into all of them, but I would be here for hours. So I'm going to give you a few tidbits, and then I'm going to refer you to my Secret Star portal. If you don't know about my Secret Star portal yet, this is a fantastic place where you get the earliest and sometimes exclusive access to my content. But right now, because of AI scraping and just the industry changing, consumer money habits changing, content creators have really been going through it, trying to continue giving you stuff that's made by humans. So I'm moving all of my massive Venus retrograde resources, and I have a lot. Overall, I'm going to be moving like 250 or 300 blogs into the Secret Star portal over time. So, but by now, when you get this, all of my Venus retrograde, and my Venus retrograde stash that I've created may actually be the most complete in the world. Maybe there's some otherwhere, but I just don't know about it. But it's very comprehensive. So if you want to understand this transit, which rules love and relationships, money and finances, aesthetics, beauty, design, self-esteem, your financial consciousness, you want to know as much as you can about Venus retrograde. So secretstarportal.com, you can subscribe there and you can get more info on this. But I'm going to give you some important things. Love, beauty, money, things you do, September through December. To match the transit and create the least amount of mischief is they need to be low stakes. This is not the time to bet all of your money on a horse. Okay? I don't really advocate gambling anyway. You've got a little bit of money and it's fun and it's not addictive and fine, whatever. I don't have a judgment. But these are low stakes things. Those are the kind of things that really can benefit now. Low stakes, high, easily changeable, great upside without any or low downside. Those things actually do exist. This month I'm giving an example of an opportunity that I had. Mostly every day I have people coming into my inbox saying, please sell my thing. And I don't sell anyone's thing because I try to keep my channel. We already have the YouTube ads and I have some things that I promote. So I try to keep your life with me free from all of that other stuff. But every day I have people asking that. One time only, somebody contacted me and said, I think I can promote your Astrology Mastery Certification course. And that person matched, in integrity and vibration. And I was like, okay. All I had to do was give them an affiliate link and give them a percentage of the sales that came through that link. Low stakes, high upside. That created the several years of my most prosperous time doing this work. And I said yes in a Venus retrograde. So if you have this misconception that you can't say yes to anything or do anything in a Venus retrograde, we need to clear that up now. The info in the Secret Star portal will help immensely. I'm going to give you tidbits every month to try to really help you understand this. Low stakes doesn't mean say no to everything. Low stakes, you can change it easily, contractually it's simple, things like that. And if you don't mind it being short term, so 18 months or so tends to be a ride out of Venus retrograde. And that's the time that this relationship that I had with this person, because then they sold the stuff and then Google changed the algorithm and, boxed out individual content creators. And so then everything happened and it changed from there. But this is what you will see. So if you can avoid making the big, not changeable decisions with, like a tattoo, for instance, get a henna one now instead of a regular one. If you're a tattoo artist, experiment with a henna tattoo month or whatever, or several months, and get business that way, and then help people really decide what they want to do permanently if they do. But those are just examples. Maybe you will never get a tattoo and it's not relevant for you, but if you understand the example, you can apply this to your life when it comes up, and it will. The more you look, the more you will see Venus retrograde re-evaluation, questioning, wondering, going back to the past, experimenting, going on with your love and money and finances and design. It's a great time to do some aesthetic touch-ups if it's not too much. Repainting your whole house when you don't exactly have the budget for it, not great during Venus retrograde because you may decide you hate the color. Little touch-ups, repainting a wall, touching up paint, doing the white paint around the trim, doing some things that you can afford that are easy, amazing during Venus retrograde. And the same for your physical self. Major cosmetic surgery during Venus retrograde, not the best transit. Light things that are not going to go wrong, that are, you try your product, something you may find your most favorite beauty product. Things like that. So just kind of be aware of that. Now, for Cap, this Venus retrograde transit is going to be in your 10th house. You're going to be questioning a lot of your place out in the world. If you are an earner and you're employed, or you want to be, it's going to be making you ask questions about how you earn money. You may go back to ways that you earned money before. You may, go back to people that you knew or other things you did before. There's this strong tilt to the past. Okay, so September 26th, we've got a full moon at 3 degrees of Aries. Fullness, completion, fruition, drama in home, family, and housing. Drama could be good. Maybe you're expecting a new member of the family. Maybe, you've sold a house and now you're moving. Something like that. It's coming to fullness, coming to completion. Could be putting you in the limelight. Aries full moons can tend to do that. Can be highlighting a health issue. Definitely guard your head and your neurological system and take symptoms very seriously at any full moon or at any time. But these energetics are under duress at this time. It's happening in the sign of Aries, and it's happening in the house of Cancer, the 4th house for Cap. And that's home, family, housing, and real estate. Also your inner world and your emotional foundations in life. Something else about the impending Venus retrograde, and every day we march into September, this is going to become stronger. Very often people look back at what they did in a Venus retrograde and they think, what was I thinking? Divorces during Venus retrograde, I see people just want to give the other person everything and get out of it. And usually that's a mistake because they go back. I mean, if it's happening during Venus retrograde, they go back and say, oh gosh, I should have had some money from that or some resources or something. And they're left, in a bad position because they just were desperate to get out. So the fact that people are not seeing possessions and material things very clearly makes it a bargain hunter's delight. And I hate to say it. I wish everyone listened and watched my reports and would know, it's not a good idea to emotionally sell out of desperation in this time, if possible, because usually you can come up with some other solution. But because most people are not hearing this, this is going to make a massive amount of people sell things below their value. So if you're an investor, if you have the money, if you're not, like I said, if it's low stakes, if it's chump change for you, you can actually pick up a massive amount of really valuable things for a low price during this transit, September through December. And some material things may come to you. And it could be a good time to buy things as long as you're sure they're not a money pit. All right, that's the other thing you have to look out for in Venus retrograde. There are so many more things, too many to list. I go through Venus retrograde through the signs and houses, and what about when people are born with Venus retrograde in their chart, or your kid is? All of that I have in the Secret Star portal, secretstarportal.com. You can check that out. Okay, so I've given you quite a few dates, and you can go in another browser right now to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, put your name and email address in to get your free September star report with the best and worst aspects of the month and the dates and everything else you need to know. I personally write all of my stuff, old school Capricorn ruled by Saturn sort of style. I do use light bits of AI for certain things in my life, But for my content creation, I am keeping that being my own creative expression. So if you want human written reports and you want the lowdown on the best and worst dates, if you're planning some important things, go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash. In the welcome letter will be the archive link to get the September report. Late degree Capricorn friends, so birthdays like January 15th through the rest of the sign or 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign, definitely go and find my Aquarius report called Rain Olive Resources for Aquarius, because you late degree friends will benefit from both readings. I hope you have a great month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.